So for all the international audiences, you would have had Nosferatu now for almost a week, but here in the UK, we don't get it until New Year's Day. So at the time of release of this, it will be
2 days from now.
Yeah, but at the time of release of this, what I was going to say, it's the day before we get Nosferatu. So we thought we'll just cram in another Nosferatu video.
The one we forgot existed.
Well, I knew it existed. Officially, this one was from 1979. It is directed and written by Werner Herzog. This is my first Werner Herzog film as well, and it stars. It's Klaus Kinski as the vampire. I'll get into the characters' names in a minute. Isabella Gianni, and Bruno Ganz is
Uncle Fester.
No, that's Klaus Kinski. Well, I knew it existed. You didn't know it even
Not
existed.
a clue. I literally thought it was a 1922 original,
and then
different scores and stuff.
And then Eggers.
Eggers, yeah.
No, but in 1979, Werner Herzog was like, let me have a go.
Let me have a go.
Step aside. It's that like Woody and like Kingdom Hearts thing. I'm just like,
yeah.
Step aside.
Let me try. Now I have the license.
And all I knew about it, I just knew about the poster. I don't even for the longest time, I didn't even see any clips of this. So I didn't even know what I was getting myself into.
It's it's a remake of Nosferatu and also an adaptation of Dracula. Dracula, because they use the actual names.
They use the aesthetic and character designs
of Nosferatu
and kind of the similar kind of. It is almost like beat for beat in terms of plot.
Some shot for shot as well.
But they use the names of that from Bram Stoker's original story. For example, Helen is not Helen Hutter. She is Lucy. Mm-hmm. Yes. What's it? Lucy Harker.
Yeah, Lucy.
Is it Tom? Is it Tom Hutter in the original?
I think so.
But he's not that. He's Jonathan Harker.
Jonathan.
Knock is Renfield.
Who said Count Dracula though? Someone said it was Knock, wasn't it?
It was Knock.
He said Dracula. Went.
Oh, and that's when I went. Hang on a minute.
Because that's the big.
This is
big
what.
name.
Yeah. We know Dracula as it's Bela Lugosi and all that jazz. What is your initial thoughts on this film? General.
I really liked it. Genuinely thought, I didn't expect a critical acclaim. When I saw some of the images of it, I was like, no, God, what's this? And the fact that I had just no idea what it was or whatever. Is this just one offshoot someone done? But I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, again, just general feelings about it. I fuck with this one quite a bit. There's some
cool visual elements.
As much as I like the silent film, I'm glad that the more recent films are being longer. Because the 20s one was very okay, cool, but you kind of brush by a lot of things. As many things were
2 hours and what?
In the original?
This one.
This an hour and 40.
Is that an hour and 40?
Yeah. It's
I thought it was 2 hours or something.
No, they do expand a lot out
of this. I think that's why it felt longer because they expanded a lot.
They do expand a lot. What's interesting is they didn't change really anything from the story. The story is pretty much the same. If I'm being honest, I'm fine with because I'm I think personally. It is fresh enough in the sense of the original story was a silent film, and this is now a talkie film in the 70s, so it's going to feel fresh in that way anyway. So you don't need to be how are we going to make the story fresher? So just keep, don't broke what ain't fixed. Don't fix what ain't broke with it.
The changes that there were so I say minor, besides the ending, but it was it wasn't stuff that's made me stand up and going, oh well, that's not my Nosferatu.
It's more like they just grew out, they expanded certain scenes. I will say we did get a lot of Harker they wouldn't let him go on a carriage taxi thing, so he had to walk to the castle. So he had a prolonged period of now let's expand this little bit here. I like how what they did with Helen as well, in the sense of she was it's almost the first shot really. It's we see her instantly.
Yeah.
It's oh, okay, so she's a bit more focal point in this film. I think she only really comes really purely more into it towards the second half really as well.
She's sensing something.
Yeah. But that's almost established right off the bat that's an element which I'm okay, that's cool. There's already this looming dread immediately. I dug it, but again, it is wanky and pretentious. The bit where she sees the ghosts and all that stuff.
Yeah, when all the rats, oh, look, they're dead. Oh, she's seen all the ghosts. Ooh.
Again, some people may be like, is that just there just to fill out time? Which it kind of is.
Can't be argued, yeah. Because what are they trying to say? They're just trying to say, oh, all these people are dead. We knew.
I think it is. I mean, stuff like that is it's a bit more trying to like form an atmosphere, I think.
Yeah, I guess. But then, you know what? They could have just took the famous bit of them carrying all of the coffins out and then just have it, okay, all these people actually are all dead. The bit with all the ghosts, so they're all dead, just does the exact same thing with them marching down with the coffins.
Yeah.
It just says the same thing, they're all dead.
I mean, I didn't mind it, but yeah. That's another thing they alter is that Harker got bit and he's turning into a vampire, which...
Slowly, like...
Which I questioned you, like, it's when we were watching it this time around. I'm like, hang on a minute, is the vampire law? Because I remembered, like, back in, like, the Murnau film, they showed him he got bit. It's like, all right, but then Hutter's fine. Like, Hutter,
I'm sure, I don't know if I'm wrong, but I'm sure, like, the whole vampire, you turn into a vampire once you're bit, I don't know if that ever was originally part of the law. I think Dracula was just a man who just sucked your blood and that was it. He was just a monster.
But I feel like it adds more drama. It adds more layers
does,
to like the actual mythos of a vampire and all that, as opposed to just I'm a man who sucks blood.
Like,
it's
as
a bit
soon
more...
as he said, you can't remember Lucy and stuff, I was like, yeah, you turned into a vampire.
And I mean, I don't know, it gives more to Harker, like that character a bit more.
Yeah.
But also in doing that, it's actually showing more of the effects that Dracula is having. On it, as opposed to just like he's a bit of a scary guy, and he brought the plague. I mean, I know the plague's a big danger, but you know what I mean. But we're seeing a bit more of a direct impact,
physical threat.
This threat is directly affecting our protagonist, as opposed to just the town around him. The ending kind of plays out similar for a good little bit to the original, where it's like Dracula comes in, he sucks the blood of Lucy. She's awake during this moment, unlike
she was enjoying it this time.
She was well into it. Lucy was well into it. Sun comes out. They've yet to get that. I mean, the death in the 20s one was neat for the 20s.
Yeah, it was good for time.
I feel like this
not
one...
very good in this one.
he just dropped. There was no...
It started off really good when he turned around, his eyes were white. And stuff like that, and then he just falls to the floor.
And then he's just in the corner.
It's supposed to be bedding him. It's just like, oh, just give him a cardiac arrest or something like that.
He's a fucking idiot in the sense of, like, he's so just into, like, getting some that, like, he's it's almost like, oh, crap, it's the morning now. Oh, no, I've been up too late. And then he steps in front of the window, then he gets burnt, and then he just dies. I'm like, I mean, I feel like you could... Every single time at the minute, it goes like... I mean, I kind of get in the sense of, like, he's, you know...
Man was thinking with his dick.
I get the fact of, like, you know, oh, he's so lustful that, you know, he wasn't thinking straight or whatever. But, I don't know, it's like, at the moment, that's just the one bit of this story that I'm a bit like... You're telling me this, like, Bowden threat was, like... He wasn't even deceived. Both situations, like, Dracula or Orlok, they're both completely in control in this scenario. No. They just fuck up. And I'm just like, all right, well... Especially with how long this scene's going, of, like, him sucking her blood and biting her neck. I'm like, there's no way that she's getting out of this.
Yeah.
And she isn't. She
could have done something. She could have slapped him across the face.
But if you're into it, you're not.
If you're into it,
you're leaving it. You know what? You know what?
Worth it.
And
this is how I go out.
And then Van Helsing comes up.
Tells everyone off.
He comes up. He goes, "Oh no, well that's a shame." Then he walks. I will say,
one of the most bizarre scenes.
I like if I'm reading it on paper, like on an outline point of view, and if you read me what happens after this scene, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. It's just a bit of an odd presentation of how they do it. It says Van Helsing comes down. He's like, we can't just let the vampire just stay here. We need to truly destroy the body. He goes down, gets a steak,
isn't it? Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah, that was cool.
Really cool. Walks up. I think the police. They're not even the police. They're just like kind of like just
what's going on here?
Just some sort of citizens. Really, they walk in. Harker's like, Van Helsing. He's just killed Count Dracula. We hear like a thump. And then Van Helsing walks down the stairs. I shit you not, this is the interaction. One of the bloke goes to the Van Helsing's like, did you just kill him? Is this true? Van Helsing goes, yes, I did.
The line is, he goes, did you do that?
Yeah, that's it. Did you do that? Did you do that? Yes, I did.
Annoyed dad.
He says, yes, I did. Shows in the bloodied steak. There's another like bloke next to them in this situation, and like the other guy goes like, arrest him, and he goes like, I can't do that.
I can't do that. I've got myself. There's some bickering for him.
It feels like a bit from like Only Fools or something, where it's just like,
I haven't got my license, sir.
It's like, well, I'm not armed. You need to be armed. Well, take him to the station. No, well, at the station. We don't have a station anymore. They say that.
Everyone's dead, sir.
Well, you take him, but I'm not qualified. He basically says that. They sit as an arrest Van Helsing, and then Harker gets the maid to like sweep up the circle, and then you see the makeup more, then you see his teeth, and he goes, okay, that's... And then he rides off in the sunset. Literally in the sunset. Literally rides off into the sunset. They didn't need to change anything story-wise.
They kept the fundamentals.
And the things that they did change, I liked.
Were cool.
I liked a lot.
The ending was just a bit like...
Could have been a bit,
weirdly handled. The idea was cool.
Again, I'm more than fine in this narrative. For what this story was presented, I'm more than fine with Lucy dying in this story. I'm fine with... And I'm also fine with Harker being a vampire by the end of it as well. It just, do you know what I mean? It just, it's also very interesting how they handle like the vampire transformation. Like he's ill, but then he's like he doesn't remember her.
Memory goes.
So he's like, it's almost like he is becoming a different being.
Yeah.
And with that, we can move on to talking about the characters in this. We'll talk about which I like them a lot in the again.
Yeah. Well, they're actually brought out a bit more around them.
Bruno Gans, who plays Harker in this film, is just all he's
just a guy doing his job.
He is, and I like the relationship established between Jonathan and Lucy in this.
Do you not think at the start they were suggesting that there was almost weird tensions between them?
Oh yeah,
and just the foreboding atmosphere with that. Or don't they actually use the word plague, but in terms of like how they're feeling, the town feels and stuff like that, and like everyone's going insane. And that's before even all that happens.
There's already this looming thing. You can see that they love each other, but there's almost like just that relationship immediately. There's something a bit more like there's a bit of distance between the two of them already. Really,
they were mentioning something about when they could go to the beach fit side or whatever it was, and then there was saying,
I like that a lot.
I like happy. That was when we were happy.
That's when we were happy.
Yeah. But would it be the same or something like that?
Which I like a lot. Which also, like, I mean, if you look at it from that point of view, it makes a bit more sense why Lucy is a bit more inviting to Count coming. In the sense about like, no, but like in the like,
fuck him,
because it wouldn't make sense for like if they were like, I love him so much and he loves me so much and we're a big happy couple. Why the fuck would she invite the vampire in?
And there's also
like,
the fact
why
that
would
she forgot about it? Maybe that makes it. That's the one thing about it though. They could have. It's almost like a great thing, but they didn't go too far into it. It should have been like, oh yeah. She's realised she's lost him because his memory's lost. There's this Larry incel all coming in. And we're like, take me. And he's like,
a new presence. He's quite, or, there's an aura around him in the sense that, well, he's a mystical. But you know what I mean? There's like this, like, that. I feel like the seeds in this were very much so really nicely planted of like looking deeper in terms of like, it's not just about vampire comes to town and does a thing.
Vampire comes to town.
Vampire comes to town and he's here to have a little nibble. It's like there's a bit of like you're seeing these two characters actually like all right. There's like a story about Wayne and love and like how that can like. I don't think it was as developed as it could have been. That's a really nice moment, that the first beach bit that we have, which we didn't have in the original. It's like he came back home and it's like, I'm gonna go to speak to the Count, and he's over the moon and he's packing his bags like a little child, and then Helen's like, oh no,
she's hysterically throwing her arms about.
Whereas like in this moment he comes back home and he says about it and she goes and she's upset about it. He's not any happier about it either, but he's like, that's a job though or whatever.
Job, go get it done.
And then she's like, well, how about we go for a walk before you leave? And then, there's that really nice moment between the two.
Between them, isn't there? Like, establishes it before he leaves that they do care about each other. And then you actually understand when she's concerned about him. They don't really establish how she knows. It's just some sort of supernatural thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's just like, how she knows is a bit strange. But I like how they set it up where you could get why she would be so concerned. And when they get back, and when he doesn't remember, and how when he pushes her away. That was
There's
great.
that
He pushes
immediate
her-
thing. Well, she
immediate-
faints. She faints as well.
The faint is a bit melodramatic, but like
It works in this.
It
It
works.
works in this
Like,
environment.
You get
yeah.
it. You're like, well, she would be. She'd be mortified, wouldn't you?
She's got motivation to figure out what the fuck's going on because it's
Yeah,
like,
there's something cool going on.
Yeah.
there. It just swaps the leads right there and then.
we'll talk about Lucy, played by Isabella Gianni,
Mm-hmm.
who Isabella Gianni, the lead in a film called Possession, which I think is the best performance by a female actor ever. Which is interesting because that performance in Possession is what Lily Rose Depp is inspired by in the new Nosferatu. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But in this film, yeah, she's fucking great, man. This is my second. I think this is my second because I've seen Possession. I don't think I've seen another film of hers before that as well. She's fucking
The
great.
thing is, she kind of hangs back for a lot of it. And
That's right,
She's
yeah.
still really effective. Like, she's not front and center till like later on. But even so, she like works really well. Because the one big complaint, I know it's like say 1922.
Yeah.
It's like all Lucy does, well, whatever the hell she's called in the original. What's she called?
Helen.
Just flails around, like is screaming, whacking her head off the wall, going mental, and just sort of.
It's not even that.
She's just melodramatic all the time.
And I mean, what I will say is that's when she's the best in that film.
Yeah.
Is when she is horror acting and she's doing that. But like apart from that, but also the story didn't help in that film where
No.
the story didn't give a fucking anything. Whereas like in this film, she's the first person we see.
Yeah.
Like the film has like some corpses for over the title credits, but the first person that we see is her when she wakes up in bed. So like immediately the film like identifies her as like the center point. She isn't just a damsel in distress, but she's not.
She's actually trying to warn people and stuff like
But
that.
you also know how in more so recent years how people mistaken the fact that we can't have a weak female character, then they just make her invincible.
Yeah.
She's not that. She is in fact incredibly vulnerable. She's more vulnerable than she is strong, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
But she's got complexity. She's also given time to like. We're actually given time with Lucy.
You actually
There's
understand why she is vulnerable.
There's actually moments in this film where there are just Lucy scenes. There isn't just like
Oh well, we need a scene of Lucy flailing about for a little bit, like.
but like there's the minutes where she's figuring things out. I mean, she does. She clocks on. Like she connects things. Hang on, the count's moved in, and then all this shit start happening. Maybe this is the
Let
issue.
me think.
There's a lot with this film where it's like they were doing they did something really good in this, but it would have been nice if they did a little bit more.
Went all the way with it.
A little bit more.
I agree.
Again, they plan a lot in this film, and what they did in this film was really nice and really cool. But just a little bit.
It deserves its critical acclaim. But it's like
I
for
feel
me,
like it should be talked about a little bit more.
yeah. But I
Just
think
a little bit.
people can turn around quite easily and have the argument it didn't go far enough.
Before we get on to talking about Dracula in this, we'll just get knock out the fucking way. I don't like him. It's Renfield in this. I don't.
He has less of a presence in the first than the first one.
And somehow he's more
More
because
annoying.
I can hear him. Because I can hear him in this version. Oh god! But it's like I said this in the original. Like when we talked about the original, I'm like, I don't know. Could we have had less Knock and more Helen? That would have been nice. We do have less Renfield and more Lucy in this.
The thing is,
But-
it feels more annoying. Like every time he's in it, I'm like,
But do you know what it is? I don't know. I don't know why he's here in this version. I don't know why he's here.
they didn't even do they did the scene when he's like, oh, the master's here, but they didn't do all the other scenes where he's giving one to going, what's he on about? Like, he's talking about this stuff like that. He's just being a pest, and then he gets out, and then you're like, oh, you just one of the best bits.
Dracula just tells him like,
piss off.
and I don't think. Do we see him again? I don't think
I think
we
that's
do.
the last time you see him.
He just go to the north, and that's it. It's
I
like,
was waiting for the bit where the mob chase him.
yeah,
and I
so
was
same.
going, That was that.
And then we
was
just
this.
didn't. Yeah,
That was it. And
So I'm
then
like, he
it's
did.
gone.
He was not. Harker goes to him, and then he goes, "Go to Transylvania," and then we don't see him until he's in a cell. I'm like, what the
How
fuck
did he
happened
get
here?
there?
He's been my least favorite inclusion in either ones. Again, at least in the original, we had the sequence
Couldn't
of
hear
him. We couldn't hear him, and we at least had that sequence of him
Yeah.
being chased. And they show the manic witch hunt mentality of a
He has
city
the
and a
purpose,
town.
because the thing is, they all think it's him, don't they?
That's exactly
That's
yeah.
the problem.
Which-
They all think it's him.
Whereas like in this one, they don't even do.
I like to go, who's responsible for this plague? Is that dirty bastard downstairs?
Orlok in this. We're going to bounce between calling him Orlok and Dracula because he just doesn't look like Dracula.
Should we call him Ocular?
Ocular. The Ocular Rift.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that Mike Flanagan film. He's probably equal to Max Schreck from the
he
original.
He doesn't do anything more or less, does he?
They keep him in the shadows for the majority
The
of
shadow stuff's really cool.
That's the thing they keep.
There's a bit when he walks in to see Lucy, and then the door opens, see the shadow in the back, and then as he comes in, it's like he enters the room as a shadow. It's that's obviously it probably like seems really simple from like just a general audience,
like from just watching it. But that's
would have
complicated.
Yeah, and then he pops up
Yep.
like, right, how did you do that? I wouldn't be surprised if there was a double, but dressed in his clothing to make it cast the shadow, and he was just below there, and ready to come out.
One thing I was interested in, because obviously this is in the 70s, so it's going to have sound, but it was also in color. So I was like, all right, well, how are they gonna? How is Orlok gonna actually feel?
Yeah.
Like, how is like? Because a big thing in the original, it's like he is just kind of like this, like
just a presence, isn't he?
Just he feels so detached from reality because of the it's a silent film or whatnot. Whereas like with this, they shot this film and presented this film very realistically. Like it looks so real that like where you see just this man and the way they do the makeup and the way they shoot him and light him. Almost every cut to him, it's not a jump scare, but it's just this instant feel of like, instantly he's just like, and there's that wide shot as well of when Harker and him are like by the table, and he's almost and you see him, and there's just something not right. Again, they didn't hide him; they showed him. Again, similar to the original, like he is pretty like he's visible right off the bat almost.
This one, they were kind of like they play with the shadows a bit more. But,
they just made him. I think they just made him unsettling right off the bat anyway. So there was no big reveal of like this is a big scary thing. And then there's that one scene moment when Harker cuts his thumb and he sucks the blood, and then there's no score in these moments as well. You just kind of hear the room tone and like kind of like just stuff like the white noise and like if there's any movement of them, and then like they stand up and then he just walks to he's walking it was like skin crawling. There was just something about it where I was like, this is.
And I like how a lot of his shots always hang on longer than they really should do. Because it kind of makes you actually want to cut away when you can.
But yeah, that's the thing as well, because it's almost like, what the fuck's he gonna do?
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of just Dracula kind of just standing, looking at Harker. And again, you might be like, fucking cut the person shit. But to me, that's a bit more like, what is possibly going to happen in this moment?
Like the audience sitting it, isn't it?
Yeah. Because then Harker's not moving away. He's kind of like, what are you going to do? And we're like, yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And then he doesn't really do anything. So then it's like, fuck, man, that was like, this film knows how to do atmosphere. Again, there's a slight danger, I think, if you're taking something from silent to talking. Mm-hmm. Like, how's he going to sound? Like, what are they going to do with his
voice is fine, I think.
He's very quiet.
Yeah. He almost sounds very unnerved and scared.
Yeah.
He actually sounds fearful of people.
Yeah, he has a slightly more, like, timid kind of, like, way of speaking, and he is still very proper, but he's still got, like...
You feel like he's actually trying to, like, be polite and, like... respectful to Lucy when he's even speaking to her.
Yeah, we talk about that moment when he comes into the bathroom, which I love that, which again, I almost love that as a part of the story, because again, in the original, it's like he just kind of like looks at her through a window. Whereas like in this one, they actually have an interaction. It's like he goes in the bathroom and he's like, he's trying like, I am Count Dracula. He's trying to be a gentleman. He's trying
pardon for my rude entrance. I was like,
it's such an interest.
He's actually like, he has feelings for her. It's not a thing where it's like lust.
There is a romance in this film.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the technical side of things, how everything's presented. We touched upon it briefly in the sense of like the shadow play. Get the atmospheres. There's so many times in this as well where like there's a lot of really neat like shots. Like it's the shot before he enters Harker's room where we just see his silhouette. And then he steps into a spotlight.
Yeah.
That is so fucking cool, man.
But we didn't get all luck. Like after he gets off the ship, he just has to cross the canal, so he gets his little platform, and he's just sat there. He can do it one hand. The original Orlok 1922, one hand.
Max Schreck is a beast. Klaus Kinski, wimp.
Needs two hands.
What I liked a lot about this is the use of sound, which again, we couldn't talk about in the original because they didn't have any. But
they didn't have the sound.
They did not. They couldn't afford a Rode NTG.
That was it.
But again, I touched upon it briefly as well. Like they use like the quiet moments where it's like they don't have a score playing,
Yeah.
But they just have like the moment of just you know what, this film has a lot of scoreless moments. There's very little music in this film in terms of like when the moments that you would think, like again, he enters the bathroom to silence. But yeah, no, the use of sound, I think it highlights more of like the visual of Dracula. Because if it was just simply going da 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 or whatever, it's a bit more like, all right, well, I'm just, Whereas like if it's just kind of silent, it's a bit. It can go one or two ways. There's moments where it's like you see him kind of like approaching in silence. It's like fucking hell.
Yeah.
But then there's some moments where it's like, I mean, I could have done with something.
There's
a little something that could have maybe been done with that.
I always find though, like, when you're composing for anything, a motif or any sort of melody, you are thinking about that character. He's an elegant character, so you don't want bombastic sort of things going on. It's not a big Wayne force.
But they also have like that motif as well. It's when he's like on the boat. I forgot like the piece of music they used.
Well, I mentioned, didn't I? I said, I'm sure this is from the BMI one we watched.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I'm sure that's just the motif for the film.
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
But they highlight. But they did it more like they cut to the ships, and it's more like
more for the plague stuff.
Yeah.
It was more for that, and I was like, I couldn't remember. I'd have to, because when we watched it the other week, I'm sure I was thinking I know that melody, and I'm thinking that's from the original. But the thing is, I think Dracula as a character, it's elegance and it's about science, and as well as that, what I was thinking why it makes it scarier. I was thinking, imagine you're in that position, you're like in the bed, and then there's just a figure just looming towards you, and it's like silence, like you're stunned silence. He's not growling at you and all this sort of thing like a monster would. He's just literally coming towards you, and you can do nothing about it.
Yeah,
like that's quite a scary thing in itself.
Yeah. Is there anything that stands out in this film that it's like this did so much better than the original, and vice versa?
Probably Lucy.
Lucy's the big one.
Lucy is his arc entirely, yeah.
There's two moments that I think the original did better.
Okay.
And they're both Orlok based.
The one where the Harker thing.
Yeah, it's the there's the one
in the bedroom.
The classic one there, because they open with that really cool shot of him walking into the spotlight, and then they just kind of cut to him in the room.
Yeah.
There is no like.
It was like kind of weirdly. A lot of that felt like it was on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
It felt like the cut around that scene, which I think it feels like that scene you should have kind of prioritized keeping very close.
Part of me feels like, because again, I don't know, because we've already seen him, so it just kind of, it doesn't need to be this big like grand scene, because we fucking know what he looks like.
But that's the same in the original though.
Yeah, I agree. Like, and the other bit is when he sees him in the sarcophagus.
Yes, we were talking about that.
Because in the original, it's like he walks up, like Hutter sees him, and he sees a crack, and he sees just Orlok's face, but like just his eyes and his like kind of mouth, and it's like, what the fuck? And then he pushes the lid off, and then he sees him lie there, and it's like, oh my fucking god, like amazing. Whereas like this one, he just kind of like opens it and sees him, and goes like, oh no,
isn't it? Where he like moves it.
Yeah.
It's just not as effective when it's like a concrete slab over the thing. I like the idea where it's like just a wooden coffin. You would not think of anything, maybe it's something else, and then you see him in there.
Yeah.
Whereas concrete slab, I don't know, it just seems like, and especially removing it, it just feels like, I don't know, the beat just didn't work with it.
Yeah, it's odd. It's weirdly not constructed like a horror film.
No.
It's very... I was thinking about this towards the end. I'm like, there's this scary, creepy element of it because of the aesthetic. But if anything, it just feels more like a gothic romance.
Yeah. That's
is what it is.
I got from it, yeah. Yeah, more so than the original. The original was kind of like, ooh, a scary, spooky story.
It is a lot more
like
that
sort of thing, whereas this is like, it's a gothic piece, and there happens to be this guy here.
It's very essential gothic, I think. I think if you're really in a gothic media and you haven't seen this version, you fucking get on it.
It feels like everything's a little bit like kind of just drab and dull and just not spooky per se, but just intimidating almost.
Yeah, there's not an inviting feel into this film. There's nothing that feels like,
there's no comfort,
come on in. There's
no
this
warmth.
That's what I was about to say. It says like this film is just cold.
Yeah.
It's a cold film, and it's just got, I don't know, man. It is almost like a perfect like rainy day, October. You're cold.
You're a bit sad.
You're a bit sad. This is almost like the perfect sad gothic film.
It's a little sad goth film.
It's a perfect adaptation of the original source material, while also still being very distinctive to itself.
Thing, yeah.
Very distinctive.
I was shocked how much I liked it, because I was thinking, I've just not heard of it. Is there going to be this sort of weird offshoot? And then I did, like, when I originally seen the picture of
Klaus
Orlok
Kinski
in
is,
it thing,
yeah.
and I was like, he looks like Ungfester.
Yeah.
Is this going to be cringy and just a bit of a cheesy 70s thing? Because, I mean, think about the amount between the 70s and the 80s where they were adapting shit and it was just so hawky and crap, like, especially for the horror genre. You know what I mean? Like, it was in a new age, and it's just the last thing I was expecting for them to go for such an, like, let's say, unorthodox approach. It was It was really refreshing, actually.
I would rewatch this more than the original. I think,
Definitely.
in all honesty,
Yeah,
this one.
It does have a vibe of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
I need to give it a go. I need to
It
watch
totally
that
does. It's a
one.
lot more
Yeah,
violent and all this sort of thing, but like, just the weird, cold vibe to it was like kind of similar.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. It's great. I like this one a lot. It was a pleasant surprise. Was the 70s Nosferatu film. And with all that being said, like, that is our thoughts on the Werner Herzog Nosferatu. We'll see. We might do a video on the new one.
Oh, we should do.
We should
definitely.
do it. We'll find time.
We need to get on the trend.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we will. Yeah,
We'll get a review.
Well, so, probably next time you'll see from us will be talking about Robert Eggers' Nosferatu.
I think we definitely have to.
Yeah, we will. We'll find time.
Yeah.
If it's not, well, it won't be the same. Won't be the same night because it'll finish late. So we'll arrange another day.
Yeah.
Too tired. We'll arrange another day. But yeah, there you go. Follow us on Instagram to where you can see all of it and whatnot. Although I've discovered it doesn't matter because the three highest viewed videos
Ones we haven't promoted.
haven't promoted. So you know what? I might try this again and just not promote this one and see how far this goes.
And what of it?
And what of it? And yeah, cool. Yeah, and
No, the Grinch.
Robert Eggers the Grinch.
Robert Eggers, the Grinch.
Now we're going to talk about Ron Howard's The Grinch.